Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are, whenever you're watching this. This is Floating in Dreams. Today we are going to take a closer look at my custom eyeshadow palette that I built myself in July. And we're going to go to the floor and select a new palette that I'm going to be playing around with in August. Welcome everybody joining me today. Thank you so very much for being here. I am going to be chatting about the custom palette that you saw me building in July. I've now done all the looks I wanted to do with this eyeshadow palette, and I have to say, right off the bat, I was loving this. So we're just gonna go into these 9 shades that I selected from my custom singles to create this palette myself. So this is not something you can buy. You can buy the individual shades, even though some of these are discontinued because they were from Makeup Geek. But yeah, I'm going to be showing you all of the close-ups with these shades. I'm going to do swatches. I'm also going to be showing the looks I did with these, and then we're going to go and also select a new palette for me to play with in August. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I like to come on here to chat about eyeshadow palettes, and at the moment, it's one of the things I'm only talking about because we're doing eyeshadow palette month. I also love reviewing Essence and Catrice reviews, and I like getting the use out of my makeup. And because I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, I deem myself a snow angel. If you would like to join the Snow Angel Club, then please hit the subscribe button down below because I would love for you to join my family over here. Let's get started with talking about this palette. So I put the 9 shades into this custom eyeshadow palette, and I have to say that of all of the eyeshadow palettes and selections I created this year so far, this has to be my favorite. I know it's not that characteristic for me because it's warm tones, and I don't love warm tones, and in my singles collection, I hardly have any warm tones. So these are pretty much like the only warm tone shades I have. Namely like these two and this. Like I don't have that many warm tones. But I have to say that this is just, it was just such a successful one. I was able to pull some stunning looks out of it, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about each shade individually and also the looks that I did with these palettes. So let me tell you about the looks first before I go into the individual shades. So in here, we've got a neutral look, we've got a warm toned look, we've got a teal look, and of course we can mix and match some things as well. So those are also the 4 looks that I did. So in the neutral look, I combined this shade with this and then this all over the lid, and I wrapped it around the inner corner, so that was lovely. For the warm toned look, I started off with this one in the crease. I deepened things up again with this one, and then I popped this orange shade all over the lid, and then I actually put the multi-chrome I have in here. I topped it over it, and because that had a bit more of a base layer going on, it really made for a even more stunning shadow than it already was. This did kind of disappear, like the orange tone of it, but I actually liked how this muted down the warmth of that because I feel it made it go with my skin tone just a lot better. And then I also used this in the inner corner, as a highlight. And then the third look I did was this, actually what you're seeing on my lids today. This is actually the last look I did, but it's the third one I'm telling you about. I put this one in the crease, this in the inner and outer corners, and then I just popped this in the center of the lid to create a bit of a halo eye. And I popped that like purpley shimmer in the inner corner. And then on the lower lash line, I didn't repeat the halo. I find that not very flattering on myself. So I just went from matte, then I topped this over the matte just to make sure that it was nice and smoky on that lower lash line. And then I just filled the gap with that brighter teal shade in the middle. And then there's another look I did with this. And that one sort of mixed and matched some of the warm tones with the teals on the bottom lash line. So on the bottom lash line, I went in with these 2 shades, and I popped the bright one in the inner corner. And then I actually used this all over the lid, and I used this in the crease for a bit of a neutral moment. And then I believe I also popped a bit of this in there, but I'm not entirely sure anymore. It was like a week ago that I did that. So yeah, these were very lovely shades. I really liked it. So let me tell you about these shades individually. So the first shade in here is Colourpop's Make It Last. And it ended up being a little bit darker than I had expected looking at it from the pan. It seems to also grab onto certain patches in my lids. Like it was fine, I could blend it out, it was okay, but it seemed to be a little bit darker when I went over the same spot twice than in the spots where I didn't do that. So this was a bit more difficult to build up, but it was really, really pretty. And it was, in the end, a stunning neutral to like blend things out with, and making sure it was, especially in the neutral look, I feel you can really see how these two just play together really well. Then next to that is another crease shade that I use for the more warm toned look. It's a mustard yellow from Colourpop as well, and this is Paper Tiger. And Paper Tiger is one of those cult Colourpop shades. I'm not sure if they still do it. They still do singles, but nobody is really talking about them anymore. And I've actually got three Colourpop singles in here, because those are like the only warm tones I have. So yeah, Paper Tiger, great mustard like yellow shade that I thought was a great transition for that warm toned look. Then next to that we have Flamethrower, and this is a shade from Makeup Geek. So Makeup Geek closed down, so I know you can no longer get that, but any sort of like coppery orange sort of foily shade will do. This is one from their metallic foiled line, and it's really, really stunning. It's a great eyeshadow, but I have to say that this is just, you know, this reminded me why I don't love warm tones, which is why I topped it off with that multi-chrome from Cliona, because I was like, yeah, I like that, but I don't love it by itself. So yeah, it needed a bit of help to really make it blend in, I feel. Next up, we're going to be talking about the shade below it, and this is Mr. Sandman, which is another Colourpop shade, and I really, really loved it. I used it in the inner corner today. I used it all over the lid, in the neutral look as well. It's a really stunning eyeshadow, and I believe it's also part of the It's My Pleasure or the Ooh La La, like one of the monochromatic palettes you can also buy it in. And the reason why I got rid of that monochromatic eyeshadow palette is because I already owned the single. So yeah, this was a lovely one. I really liked it. And it has, like, it looks like a plum in the pan, but it has a bit of like a bluish green sort of sparkle to it. So I kind of feel it went really well with all of the shades I've got going on. Next to that is Venice from Anastasia Beverly Hills. And this is a stunning, like, water of the ocean kind of color. Like, that's what this eyeshadow palette reminds me of. I told you this when I put it together. Like, this is the beach, and then this is the ocean, and this is like, you know, it's like summer in a palette for me. You know, this is also like the palm trees or whatever, yeah? So ABH's Venice is like my perfect sort of like sea foamy green color. That's what this reminds me of, like that sea foam that, like, when the waves come rolling in. It has a bit of a different shine to it though. So because it has a bit of a warm tone shine, it actually goes really well with the warm tones as well. So when I use this in the inner corner, I felt it went perfectly with that as well. Then next to that, we have Thrilled from Sydney Grace. That's what I have going on in the crease today. It's one of my favorite teal mattes. It's so easy to blend. Teal can be so difficult to do as a matte and not have it be patchy or weird or difficult to blend or create a lot of fallout. And this hits that sweet spot. It goes on seamlessly, and it's one of my favorite eyeshadows in my entire makeup collection. I show this a lot in a lot of videos whenever I talk about singles. And then we have Houdini from Makeup Geek. So Makeup Geek's Houdini is like Flamethrower, one of their foiled metallic shades. And this is one of my favorites, like shimmers. It is very deep, dark, and smoky because it does have a bit of a darker base to it. Where Thrilled, because it is a matte, it just has the same color throughout. But this definitely looks like it's got a hint of black running through it. Makes it really super sparkly, and the sparkles definitely stand out a bit more. But yeah, these two are, like, they could have been from like the same palette, but they are from completely different brands, and I bought them at completely different times. And then next, right here in the bottom, we have another matte. This is MAC's Embark, and Embark was like the deepening up shade of this palette. I really loved how this played together with the two like creasy shades I have here. I popped this into like the outer V and the crease a lot just to create a bit more definition there. I like to like go in a V shape when I do that because I feel it still keeps my eyes open and it just makes for a better look. So yeah, Embark from MAC was a good one to have. It isn't the most pigmented shade ever, but because it is so deep, I feel that I can still have enough for like room to play around with this, and I don't just have like dark shadow that I can't blend out anymore. I feel it's very sort of malleable and you can really play around with it and really build it up to the depth that you want it to be, which I like. And finally, I popped one multi-chrome in here, and this is Cliona's Vermilion. And this is one, when I bought it, I got it home and I thought it was going to be really pretty, but then it had a very red undertone and I was like, that's not gonna look pretty on me. But on me, like right here in the pen right now, you can also see that it's got a bit of pink, like a magenta pink. And that's what you see on my eyeshadow, like on my eye when I wear it, especially by itself. But I felt that the magenta, like cranberry quality, came out even more when I popped it over Flamethrower. So yeah, this was just a great one to have in here. It added the sparkle that I wanted. It looks really stunning, but it is August, so it's time to pick a new palette. I am gonna go in with a smaller palette this time though, so let's move down to the floor and get all of my singles out, put this one back into the palettes, and then create myself a new 6-pan. So welcome to the floor. I'm first going to be popping these guys back into their respective palettes so we can start with a clean slate. I do apologize if the frame looks different, but my camera battery cut out, so I had to replace that. So we're going to be putting some shadows in here, but it's not going to be the only thing I'm using because I'm actually inspired by this. This is a pigment from Sydney Grace. This is in the shade Comforting Lights, and I'm not sure if you can see that here, but it's like a berry shade, but then it also has a bit of green. Let me swatch that for you because this is going to be my reference point. So this shade I want to use to build the rest of the palette with, you could say. So this is what is going to inspire the rest of this palette. So then I have a loose pigment and a small palette to work with. And what I want to start us off with is like a good neutral to sort of have in this palette. Now I've got some neutrals, mainly here and here, that I think might be contenders. So I think actually what I'm going to have to use here is this MAC shade here, or maybe this one. Ooh. Yeah, I think this will be pretty. But I already used soft brown. I think I need to use Wedge. That's what it's called, right? Yeah, Wedge. I think this is better. It's going to be a bit lighter, but I think that will be a nice one. So that is our neutral. And then I need something to deepen things up with. But I think I want to have a bit of fun and not just go with like another dark brown because like that's the easy way out. So I think actually that's something that can be pretty with this because it's got like green and blue a little bit. So maybe go in with like a dark green. Something like this. I think will be pretty. What do you guys think? But I also have some deeper, like true greens in this guy here. So these are Sydney Grace ones. And this is very smoky. This is more cool toned. I think I want to go more like forest green. So let me see what we've got in here in the Inglot one. That's more like, again, tealy blues. And this is more like army greens. Oh, we've got some things in here in the Colourpop, but that's not dark enough for what I'm going for. But I also have some greens in the Lethal. Yeah, again, that's too bright. So I think I'm just going to pop both of these in. So we have MAC Soft Brown, Siren Call from Sydney Grace, and then this is Starfish from Sydney Grace. So those are like some good deep shades with this. I think that will be pretty. And then maybe something berry, cranberry-ish. Let me see. Oh, I kind of like the look of this shade over here. What is it called? What is this called? It is Colourpop's Cute Alert. It sort of looks like a fall color story now to me. So maybe I want to add a bit more brightness. This is going to add a lot more depth. So I don't think I'd love that. Let me see, something bright. I'm going in with the Lethal Cosmetics again, because I believe I had some murky shades in here too. Maybe this shade over here, because that can add a little bit more depth than that, and it has a bit of a reddish undertone. Can I pop this out without a tool? I can. And then maybe this palette is also a good one to get some shades out of for, this is Imago. Oh, let me pop it in like this. But then I also have some shades in here perhaps. So what do you guys think? I don't know, this shade is really speaking to me. It's right next to it. This is Lucid. I think that might be a nice brighter shade to go in here. So we've got some Lethal in here, and now I just need something that is like super bright and like sparkly inner corner goodness. So I could go in with some of these like Cliona multichromes. Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. One of the ultimate sparkly shades, Starboy from Luxie. That is going to be my 6th shade. So this way, I think this will work. Because this has a bit of warmth, but it also has that bluish green sort of quality to it. So I think it can go a lot of different ways with this one. Let me know what you guys think. So this is what I will be using in August, the Sydney Grace pigment, and then these shades from my singles collection. I will be updating you, of course, in September with all the looks and the swatches of these. And then we're going to the outro. So thank you so very much for joining me today. That was my custom eyeshadow palette for the month of August. Next month, I will be showing you all the swatches and looks that I did with this palette. So I hope you'd like to come back and see that video then. I hope you would like to stay tuned for more. I'm chatting about eyeshadow palettes all the time this month. So if you'd like to stay tuned, and if you would like to thumbs up the video to help out the channel, that would also be lovely. And then I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.